Tom Aspinall once again has declared himself the active heavyweight champion of the world, the best active heavyweight in the world. And I don't think anyone would argue with that. I'm not seeing a lot of guys arguing to get a shot at the interim championship, and I do wonder why. You'll get clues in MMA, and they're not always foolproof, but they generally will take you in the right direction. If you have two guys that are squabbling, two guys that are going back and forth, and that's the fight. That's clearly the fight. It's got the number one thing that you want in a fight, which is a grudge. Grudges trump main events, grudges trump titles. It goes grudge, main event, title. That is your hierarchy of big fights with MMA. So you get these two guys, right? You got this obvious fight. You got this grudge. No one else is talking to them. They're going after each other. Nobody else is inserting. Everything's going their way. And all of a sudden, one day they go quiet. That is your clue that the fight has been made. That is your clue. They do not need to come after each other to pick the fight anymore. They have the fight. We saw this just recently with Topuria and Volkanovski. And that cooling period was only about 9 days. But when it cooled, all the same, we know, okay, they've got the fight. We're just going to wait, find out the date. Just for an example. So, no one is going after Tom. I mean, I really have to bring that up. Sergey Pavlich could go for a rematch. I mean, he's got the best resume sitting out there. Ciryl Gane could go for a rematch, particularly based on the part of the world they would put that match. Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall sells out 2 arenas guaranteed. And that's 2 countries, by the way. Anywhere you want to put the arena in Paris, anywhere you want to put it in the UK. And would come damn close here. Right now. It's before you put the card together. Just that fight. But Ciryl Gane's gone very quiet. Ciryl Gane spoke up once. And Tom brushed him aside, as he should. Tom went and sat front row trying to get Ciryl to call him out. Ciryl had the chance. It did not do it. So now that Tom can return the favor after he did. He did return the favor and he said no. But nobody else is calling for it. And that means something, guys. I don't know what it means. It means something, though. The fellow heavyweights have gotten word, fill in the blank. My fear is that word is the same word that we've all gotten, which is Tom's not going to fight. We're not going to contest the interim championship. That's my fear. And if that were the case, the heavyweights would know. A manager or two would have got tipped off, go through the world. You want to get the word out, you can telephone, telegraph, or you can tell a fighter. Either one of them will spread that globally really fast. So Tom has now come out, and he's calling for the Jon Jones fight. And this is back to where Tom is arguing. I don't want to get in this thing with you guys about Francis. I don't want to get in this thing with you guys about DC retired early. I don't want to get in this thing about you with Jon Jones. You can have your opinions, but I'm going to give you a fact that you do need to respect, which is I am the best active fighter. And Tom even qualified that by saying I can sell out arenas, and I will. And he let the promotion know right through the media there will be no games. That was all he said, there will be no games. And what he means by that is if you come and sell out an arena and you start doing record numbers, I'm not going to come back to renegotiate. I understand my deal. You do what it is you need to do, but I want to compete with anybody. Tom said I got bit by the bug. Got a little taste of success. I want some more. Tom even brought up Stipe Miocic. And when Tom was talking about Stipe versus Jon, he just said, look, that's not the fight that people want. It's not the one they're clamoring for. It was before I won the belt. But coming out of that, it's not. And a year from now, it is definitely not going to be the one that people are clamoring for. And if you listen to Tom's interview, there was parts within it that did sound as though he is not being discussed for a fight right now. And I don't know that there is a way to have Tom fight prior to Jon coming back where it wouldn't be for the interim title, thus making it a defense of the interim title. And that hasn't been done before, and that shouldn't be a problem to do. I have no problem with that. Do you guys? I have no problem with seeing Tom Aspinall fight. And of course, the whole reason we got him is Jon and the interim, the undisputed, what's going to happen there. So you bring the interim along with it. I'm not hearing a problem yet. That's not silly at all. That's not ridiculous at all. That's not something that we'd all have to swallow at all. Even if it's not been done before, it would make perfect sense for this situation. Now, there is a misunderstanding. There's a misunderstanding by you guys because it was given to you by the media. That if Jon Jones is to return against Stipe, and the winner of that fight follows the current script, which is to retire on the spot, the media has told you guys that would then elevate Tom to undisputed champion. That is false. Interim champion, just to make sure we understand the term. Interim champion means for now. It means in between time. Well, what is the time? The time is until your undisputed champion returns, which means the moment the bell rings in Jon Jones's next fight, we no longer have an interim champion. Now, that's always been the case. It just never needed to be explained to you because the interim champion was the guy in the ring with the undisputed champion. But if Tom sits in the front row, for example, as interim champion, when Jon's next fight starts, which in this case we're told is going to be against Stipe, when that bell rings, Tom's no longer champion. So if Jon were to win just for the sake of the story and he were to retire, you now have a vacant belt. You do not have an interim champion who has been elevated. And I know you've been told that. You've been told wrong. So I have no problem with the fact that he would defend. And the question does become, who would he defend against? And it seems to me that would be the only question. And I think this Almeida kid out of Brazil, it likely has the skills and the talent, but he's not the guy for the fight yet. He's not a guy for the fight. No matter what your skills and talent are, there's other things that you have to do. You got to get a mandate of the masses. You got to prove that you can. There's pay-per-view and there's a business side to this that everybody will deny. That's no part of it. It's all part of it. So if we're not going to do surreal, even if it's out of spite, we're not going to do Almeida, maybe for the reasons that I just laid out, it does bring you back to Stipe. And there was a statement made by Dana White prior to the announcement that it was, or simultaneously with the announcement that it was going to be Tom and Sergey. And the question was, why is Stipe not part of it? And Dana said, you know what? Calling and offering Stipe Miocic an interim title fight is disrespectful. And then Dana put it back to the media. He said, you know what I mean? He's waiting for a response. You know what I mean? We got a problem with this? The room went silent. Yeah, we do all understand that. That would be disrespectful. You're right. But things are different now. I mean, to Tom's point that the world's number one fight they want to see at heavyweight was Stipe versus Jon, and Tom making the point that is not the number one fight the world wants to see anymore, he's right. And now we're going to do it a year from now. Allegedly. And I just feel as though it's a topic that should be revisited. Tom is revisiting it. But when Tom brings it up and he's out there campaigning for either the Jones fight, even if he's got to wait a year, which is better than what the current situation is, which you're going to wait for Jones's fight and then go down the road to get your fight. Like, even a year is better than the current situation, or doing Stipe now. The fact that he is campaigning for those tells me in the short term that, to his knowledge, they're not going to give him a fight. To his knowledge, they are going to follow the plan, which is to wait however long we have to wait, get the injury reports, get that other fight done, and go on from there. And if we are all to operate under the assumption that Jones and Stipe retire that night, now, that isn't true, by the way, but if we're going to operate under that assumption, then there will be nothing for Tom to wait for. And imagine we weren't going to operate under that assumption, but that ends up what's happening, right? Imagine that. We hold Tom Aspinall, young, hungry, selling out arenas. We hold him to take on the winner of Jones and Stipe, which we know in advance is only true if it's Jones. But either way, and then Jones retires. And now Tom has nothing to do. Oh, and by the way, he lost his belt without even being a competition. I feel like we got a car wreck going on here. But I feel like the cure is worse than the disease. To cure the situation of Jon and Stipe being delayed by creating an interim championship that we're then going to hold longer than any normal champion has ever been able to sit. Jamal Hill was able to sit on his belt for 2.5 weeks. Yuri Prohaska was able to sit on his belt for 7 days. We're going to have an interim champion who's going to sit on his belt for 1.5 years, who, by the way, isn't injured, sick, or unwilling. I mean, right? Like it just feels like we got a mess. And how we're going to sort this takes two. It's not just our opinions. We've got the opinion of the champion, whose opinion should matter most. I mean, them's the rules. All these guys have been champions. Stipe, Jon, and now Tom. They've all been champion. And they all would tell you the champion's opinion does matter most. Well, the champion has spoken, and it doesn't generally go in that order. The champion has spoken. And he said that he would like to fight, either take Stipe's fight away from him or fight Stipe himself. But he can't do it on his own. He would need a response from Stipe. And if Stipe doesn't agree with me, if in Stipe's heart, he's going, hey, whoa, just a second here. You don't think me and Jones is the biggest fight? Yes, it is. You've got this wrong. But if Stipe feels that, I wouldn't expect him to respond. But if we have changed our collective minds, if we saw it Dana's way, which that'd be disrespectful, then we saw Tom win and get the belt put around him in the fashion he did, and all of a sudden we don't feel that that's a disrespect to Stipe. We have changed our minds. We view it differently. There's a very good chance that Stipe views it differently as well. And Stipe was very respectful after that fight. You saw his reaction. They had the camera on him. I think he said, wow, and then he even congratulated Tom. It would seem as though if we're going to go in order here, we've heard from the champion, now we need to hear from Stipe. And I don't know that Stipe's answer and defiance of that match and stubbornness to wait for Jon no matter what, I don't know that it's going to be as rock solid as you think. If we have changed our minds and Stipe is one of us, I think it's very reasonable to at least ask the question, because there's a very good chance that Stipe's opinion has also changed.